Hello, my name is Julie, and today I'm reading books by Julies and Julias. So recently I've come across quite a few Julie and Julia books that I've been interested in, and that's what spurred this video. I didn't necessarily go seeking for books that were by Julies and Julias. I was just going through my own TBR and found quite a few of them, and I thought that this would be a fun opportunity for me to see what I can learn about Julies and Julias in the book sphere. Even though one of my biggest pet peeves on this earth is being called Julia, I am combining Julies and Julias because I have 3 5-star prediction books that are written by Julias. So I thought, I would take a humble pill. What do we know about the name Julie? What does the name Julie say about an author? And what do Julies and Julias write about? Is what we're gonna learn. And do I agree? Do I like books by authors named Julia? Do we have that spirit bond because of our name? First off, what does the name Julie and Julia mean? It means youthful. It comes from the Roman name Julius or Julius. The name actually outdates the letter J. It was originally spelled with an I and it would be pronounced like the letter Y, so it would be Julius. I was a Latin student. It means youthful because the original Julius was a child of Jove or Jupiter. Julie and Julia have been fairly popular names in the United States, but Julie peaked in the 1970s, specifically 1971, so the most people who were named Julie are actually around 50 years old right now, versus Julia actually peaked in 2001, the year that I was born. I know a couple Julias, but not enough that I figure that that was the most popular year. So this YouTube video breaks down different name stats, so there's the most popular names in each state, but this one specifically shows the most popular name above the national average in each state, and you can see Julie peaks in the 1950s in like Washington area. I know from my mom that she picked out the name Julie when she was in high school. So that would have been 80s. I don't think that there was a specific origin for it. I think she had a friend named Julie or Julia and she just liked that name and she picked it, and then years and years later, here I am. Maybe we'll learn more about what the internet and other sources think about the name Julie. But right now, let's talk about the books that I'm going to be reading. The first is the one that I've had on my TBR the longest because it's also the oldest, and that is The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. This is a YA contemporary book that is inspired by Twelfth Night. That is a Shakespeare play that I actually have not studied before. Every single Shakespeare retelling I've ever read, I've actually studied the play. I did read up on the summary, and I think I'm gonna be okay. This is about Violet, whose brother Sam, Viola, Sebastian. Sam just attempted to take his own life, so he is being sent off to a facility to be taken care of, and his parents are going to be paying attention to him. So Violet is being sent to her family's original hometown in Maine called Lyric, where their ancestors were in a shipwreck and escaped to the mainland. I know that this is supposed to be hard-hitting. This is one of Kayla from Books and Lala's favorite YA books from back in the day, so I've had it on my list since then, and I just found out that my friend Katie, who I trust her taste, this is also one of her favorites. I did start, I think I've read about 50 pages, and I think it's off to a slow start, but I do like our main character quite a lot. Literally in the first couple pages, she shaves her head. Also, this is queer. I'm excited for it. Then we have my biggest 5-star prediction for the year, and without a lot of reason, and that is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is a literary horror that came out last year about a woman whose wife went on this secret mission in a submarine and came back changed and strange. She keeps staying in the bathtub and having the water run over her. I've heard only great things, and for some reason, I feel like this is really going to speak to me. Also queer. Again, Kayla from Books of Lala, love this book. And it's also very funny that I'm reading this now because the whole Titanic submarine thing just happened. Then we've got The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. So this is a thriller about a writing competition that is hosted at this secluded cabin where after the course of a month or so, whichever writer comes up with the best new novel idea is going to get a huge deal for their book. I hear that the competition gets pretty cutthroat. I love books about writers, so I really think this is going to be a home run for me, but it has gotten mixed reviews because of the type of thriller it is, so we'll see. And the last book that I am going to read, hopefully, is The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. This is a domestic thriller about a woman who is a con woman, goes by a lot of different names, and a woman whose life was ruined by her in the past, and she's been biding her time for 10 years to take this woman down. 3 of the 4 books are thrillery. 2 of them I know for sure going in are queer. And we'll see if I can find any other similarities in these by the time this is over. But it is very hot outside, so I'm planning on going to the pool, and I'm going to really get a move on Last True Poets of the Sea, because I need to read all of my library books before I move in 2 weeks. So this needs to get out of here. I wanted my hair to be a sleigh, and I don't think it is. It is the afternoon, and I am 200 pages into The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. I went to the pool, went to the gym, took a shower. I finished season 15 of the Great Food Truck Race and my team won, so I'm very happy. And I got back to reading after reading quite a bit of the pool. And this book has grown on me. I really like the humor of how these people who are friends or family members interact with each other. I really like how these people are searching for the shipwreck that caused the entire town to exist. And our main character has met a boy and a girl who they're kind of the thing, but they're not dating. And she's starting to like both of them. And I really like the conversations that are surrounding our main character and her problems surrounding like party culture and how she interacts with her body and identity. And I'm just having a really good time with this. I don't think it's possible that I could physically finish the book today, but I could definitely finish it tomorrow and knock out this almost 400-page book in 2 days. Hello, I currently have you on my stack of moving boxes. I am a mess. It is the next day, and I got to page 250 last night of The Last True Poets of the Sea. I definitely sat down with this for a while. So that is almost exactly the 2/3 mark. This is definitely having a very good balance of more difficult topics like death of a family member and trauma versus like having fun. Like these people have a lot of good banter, like I've mentioned before, but they are focused on the important things in their life, and sometimes people are being funny to cover that up. And I'm really, really enjoying this. And I'm glad that I've kept this on my TBR for so long, because I definitely, it's only 2019? I thought this book was way older, but I have gotten all ready for the day. I'm about to meet my long distance best friend before she goes away to Ireland. I am very happy for her, but I am sorry to let her go. So we are going to go grab coffee, do our, you know, every 6 months catch-up session, and then I am going to read a little bit more of this. There's a kiss happening, let's go! Hi, Nina.
Hi. Every Julie or Julia I know happens to be brunette, extremely smart, very interesting, tends to be a little more introverted, very talented, and I advertise our friendship as you are the smartest person that I know.
Flattery. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yes!
Avina has left me. We had our little coffees. It looked very pretty. But now I have anxiety because that's more espresso than I usually have. So now I need to chill myself the fuck out, and then I can read because I know for a fact that I am not gonna be able to pay attention. This book was so fucking good. Oh my god. This is why I love serious YA contemporary. Coming of age stories that like perfectly encapsulate being young and figuring yourself out with a great friend group. This ending was so good. We get to see more interactions between Violet and her brother. We see like these friends all have serious conversations. There's conversations between the parents, and everybody just loves each other and wants the best for each other. And like sometimes people fuck up, but everybody apologizes and wants the best for each other. And I really loved the writing in this book, or like the style that this book was told in, where sometimes like our main character will go on an extended metaphor, or sometimes there's a chapter that is written differently than the others. Like it's a list, or it's letters to her brother, or it's like telling an anecdote from years ago, but in like a different style. You know, I thought it was only gonna be a 4 when I started it, like at most, but it could be a 5. I might have been right about the 5-star prediction. I'll have to think about this more. This was so fucking good. Hello, Julie vlog. It's been a minute. It's been a couple weeks, and I have moved into my new apartment, as you can see behind me, and I've also been in Friendathon. So this is a readathon that I've run for the last couple of years, but we are talking about Our Wives Under the Sea right now, which I read 40% of 100 pages of last night. There are Leah and Miri, and they're a married couple. Leah has been working in like marine biology forever, and she is supposed to go on a routine submarine mission. Instead of being 3 weeks, she's actually gone for 6 months. We see the two of them before the incident as Miri is reflecting on the life before she left. We see little snippets of Leah on the submarine, and we see Miri as Leah's gone, and we also see Miri as Leah comes back changed. There are strange things on her skin. She keeps filling up the bathtub, washing it or sitting in it, and there's like strange things around the rim of the tub. Not a lot has happened, but this is very subtle. It is more about the relationship between the two of them, and how when Leah comes back changed, Miri's like, where did my wife go? It says it's romantic on the back, so I'm kind of interested to see where the end of this goes, because we really haven't had a lot of like plot. It's been reflections, small anecdotes. It does feel like I'm thinking of ending things in which it's like the characters like saying the same things over and over, trying to perform the same actions, kind of caught or trapped. But it is more, I would put it more literary than that. I would also like to say that Florence of Florence and the Machine blurbed this book, and we also have a blurb that is just the letter I. Okay, gives me no information, but interesting. What about this screams Julie to me? That it's a literary horror, for one. Water, apparently, is big in Julie books. Our main characters are like intellectual, and it's about like relationships and the like loss of it. Maybe that's what it is, because I do love a good especially movies, but movies that focus on usually a romantic relationship that like goes wrong or something like that. The writing style is probably the part that I like most about this so far. We'll see how I think of the ending of this. This is short enough that I do plan on finishing this today, and I probably won't update you until I finish it. I'm still holding out for a 5-star. Look, this book, I think it did what it set out to accomplish. The thing is, I feel like it was so vague. I don't feel like I have a very good visualization of exactly what's going on. I just wanted like a little bit more clarity and also a little bit more presence of the horror. But we didn't have much plot to begin with. I just wanted more of it. I wanted it to be more in my face. I wanted it to suck me in, and it didn't quite do that for me. So I'm settling on like a 3.5. Like, it is by no means a bad book. I would recommend it to like a Tesha Moshe fans because those books also left me wanting a little bit more. If you need a lot of answers for something, plot-wise, you're not necessarily gonna get it, but it does still have a very clear message. I wish it did a little bit more horror, but that means we're clear to read the next Julie book. I thought a fun thing for this video would be to find things that have been assigned the name Julie. So there's a person on Instagram who has synesthesia, and they make these little circle color palettes that are based on people's names. I've been fascinated with synesthesia ever since I read that Wendy Mass book as a kid. Wendy Mass was like one of my favorite authors, and I have been desperately wanting somebody to do my name. I've not seen her do it yet, but I scrolled through. I had to get TikTok all over again just to see these videos. These are what people think Julie looks like.
All right, Julia, I hope you like it. These are your colors, and the song that I recommend for you is Someone New by Hosier.
And Julie is splashing, splooshing tea.
Julia is blue, and it's like a sandpapery texture.
Which I'm getting a lot of blues, which I like, and that's kind of a color that I've always associated with myself, which I like that a lot. I think green is my favorite color, but blue is one that like I would associate with myself. I think I look good in blue, my eyes are blue, I don't know. There's different like dress designer companies that'll do, the dress will be named the Julie. It'll be like all names. So I was like, what are the Julie dresses looking like? And these are the dresses that I found. Florals and more of a flowy look than something that's tight, which I liked. I did really love the bright pink dress. Like, I don't know that that's something that I'd necessarily buy, but I love it on the model. There's a dress designer that's Julie Vito, I think. Absolutely gorgeous wedding dresses, which these are skin tight unlike the regular dresses, but love these. They're tight and they're really designer, but I think they look really romantic style, like a little bit fantasy in there, and I like that a lot. I was like, what if there are Julie like necklaces or like jewelry? Should I get something? First of all, everything was outside my price point for someone who does not wear jewelry just about at all, which is a little ironic considering my name kind of sounds like jewelry. But I did find, like, there was this pearl necklace that I thought was very classy, very pretty. I liked it. Then there was like this eyeball. Wasn't sure about that one. And a couple other things that I found. I was looking for bags to see if there were like purses or anything. I felt like that was another type of company that would have things named after names. And it turns out there's a company just called Julie Bags. I think I'm most happy of all of these with how the colors turned out. I think I did the Julie core or Julie aesthetic trend for like Pinterest a while ago. I had a reel on Instagram, and this is what I came up with from just that tag alone, which it probably is a little bit biased towards what I actually look at on Pinterest, but also the words core or aesthetic would tend towards like a cottagecore type search. This is what I just came up with originally. When you first look up Julie, it comes up with a lot of pictures of the girl from the like After Midnight or something like that. I haven't seen those movies, but I really want to. And then when you look up like Julie core or Julie aesthetic, you get more aesthetic images rather than just character. Julie and Sam from You've Reached Sam, which is a book I absolutely adore, come up a lot, which I thought was fun. I was happy with the vibe that I gave off. Am I the Weeknd? Because these lights are fucking blinding. It's been a couple weeks. This is my bookshelf. I do have my TBR cart, of course, but this is currently the bookshelf situation. It's a work in progress, but I have started The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. This book is definitely different than I thought it was going to be, in that like I don't disagree with the con woman, and also like the connection between these women is thinner. So we have two women. First, there's Meg. When her mom died, she was left homeless, destitute, and she is literally just going on dates with guys so that she can have meals. And this is going on for long enough that she's like, I need to get some sort of long-term situation. So she decides that she is going to long con a guy. She ends up finding one of her old high school teachers on a dating app, and she knows nearly for certain that her only friend in high school was groomed and assaulted by this man, and he is still working in the school system. So she's like, I have absolutely no qualms about conning this guy. Very fun bit, by the way. I'm like a third of the way through, so I've read quite a bit of that part. Along the way, a investigative journalist named Kat gets caught up in that, and because of it, she believes that Meg has ruined her life, and nobody knows about her conning. So 10 years later, Meg shows up again with her real name, and Kat has decided that she is going to expose her. That has been the majority of this, and we are now moving into the present timeline more. The way that Meg cons this man is so satisfying. The manipulation is so fun. Like, we know this guy is so terrible. A lot of the ways in which she is conning him is leaning into why he's a bad person. Having this man's life ripped away from him and being put in jail, fuck yeah, absolutely love it. There are some other things in this that are terrible and like not fun because bad things happen to good people. What about this screams Julie author to me? One of the characters is a writer. She is a journalist, but she wanted to be a novelist. Believe it or not, writers like to write about writing. Oh, I think flipping back and forth between the present and the past. I'll take that as well. This one and the writing retreat, which I am going to start very soon, are both about women vying for success or whatever. Like that it's like a competition where these two, it's like a cat and mouse chase, and that is like rival writers. I'm gonna listen to more of this audiobook, probably when I am at work doing stuff tomorrow. So I have a lot of time to myself, and I just ended up finishing the back half of The Lies I Tell. I really enjoyed this. I had a good time. This is not like a really action-based thriller. Would I even call it a thriller? It's like a suspense. I do think that there is a shift over the course of the book as Kat shifts. Like the thing that you get into isn't necessarily what it ends up being, and I actually really liked it. I really loved the interaction between these two characters, Meg and Kat. I loved following Meg so much, and I do think that the structure was done really well. Like, we'd find out about a con that Meg did, and then right afterwards Kat would be researching it, so we would know what she was talking about and be learning it at about the same time that she was. I thought that was really fun. I like the Robin Hood aspect of Meg, where she's purposely conning men that have done women wrong. And there's also a large conflict that goes around where there's like one of two people who could be doing it. And I really liked that problem of the character trying to be like, which one is it, because it could be either one. Usually when you have like a limited set of characters, that really sucks when there's a mystery, but having two really big candidates and just going between them was actually done really well. And even though like I knew which one it was, it still went really well. I thought that this handled the topic of sexual assault well, and honestly I think it ended in a way that was better than I thought it was going to at the beginning. This is definitely not the book that I thought it was going to be when I was going into it. Surprise win! This just wasn't one that I had like heard a lot about, so I didn't have high hopes for it, but I really enjoyed it. So I am going to get started on the writing retreat sometime tonight. But first I'm gonna take a nap. Okay, so I have gotten to page 100 of the writing retreat. I actually kind of lost myself in reading this first little bit after I ate dinner. So we have Alex and Ren, and they used to be best friends, but something happened between them. We find out pretty soon what it is, and it had to do a little bit with them not entirely acting like friends, a little bit more than that. They both have a favorite writer, Rosa, this feminist horror writer who lives in like this essentially haunted mansion where murders, crimes happened. Both of them end up getting the opportunity to go to the writing retreat, and they find out when they get there that they have to write the entirety of a novel from scratch within a month. And not only that, if they don't write 3,000 words a day, they get kicked out. So they have to start on their writing immediately, which I really liked upping the ante of the competition. I think that this book is going to take a lot of inspiration from Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, because it is mentioned it once, and there is a character in the past who used to live in the house that's also named Daphne. But I'm really liking that this is about writing and creation, which is something I usually really like in books. We've also had an insert, the first insert of the book that Alex is writing, which I think is going to be really interesting. She's writing fiction about the actual people who lived in the house and maybe try to figure out what actually happened, which reminds me of The Villa by Rachel Hawkins, which I really loved last year. So let's see how this goes. 175 pages into the writing retreat, and I cannot put this down. I love the turn into like a little bit more horror that I wasn't necessarily expecting from the premise, but when people called this weird, I started to expect it. Had my little Starbucks drink that had my name on it, as one could possibly expect from this really strict competition being held. Rosa, the woman who's hosting this, is definitely a little sinister. She's kind of getting away with a lot because she's all these girls' heroes. I'm absolutely adoring this so far, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. Oh my god. Let's do some more Julie things. What other Julies are out there? So if we're talking about Julies that I could have read for this video, I have read two authors before that are Julies. So Julie Berry, I read The Lovely War, didn't love that. A long time ago, before Dumplin' was written, actually I didn't know this was the same author, but I did read a Julie Murphy. It was called Side Effects May Vary, and I did not like that book. I haven't had luck with Julies prior to this, and I hadn't read a Julia before this. There are a couple Julies and Julias that I could have read otherwise. So if you have any recommendations of things you think I would actually like, let me know. What about other Julies? Julie characters. There's Julie from You've Reached Sam, a book that I absolutely love. I cried reading this book, and a lot of the book being addressed to my name didn't help. There's Julie the American Girl doll. I didn't have American Girls. I wasn't really into them, and they were also like way too expensive. Even as a child, I was like, those things are way too expensive for me to justify making my parents buy that for me. But I did like that she was like a 70s hippie. She probably would have been the American Girl doll that I would have gotten. I was more interested in the American Girl dolls that you could customize yourself. There's a character in Leviathan Wakes, the first book in the Expanse series, that's named Julie, but her full name is Juliet. Boo. But I liked her. There was a book that I read when I was a kid called Julie of the Wolves, which that was a book that takes place in like the Arctic Circle. I remember nothing of this book, but I remember picking it up because of my name. I know there's a show called Julie and the Phantoms. I haven't watched it because I didn't think it was something that I'd be interested in, but maybe I should. Maybe me and Julie would connect on another level. There's a song called Hey Julie by Fountains of Wayne, the people who did Stacy's mom. While this song is catchy and not terrible, it's not the most feminist song in the world. It's basically the guy being like, my work is so hard. Julie, I'm so glad you're there for me at the end of the day, which is a nice sentiment, but he actually says nothing about Julie herself in the song. It's just, it's so great for you to grab me a beer. Celebrities, the most famous Julie is Julie Andrews. You know, Mary Poppins, all that jazz. Very classy. Julie d'Aubigny, is that how you pronounce that? She's a very famous queer woman who was a swordswoman, dueler person in the, 1700s, I want to say. Read up about her because she's one of the coolest historical figures you'll ever read about. There's Julian Baker from Boy Genius. Does that count? There's Julie Walters, who her real name is actually Julia, but you might know her from the Harry Potter movies. And then the main mom from Modern Family, her actress is named Julie as well. Lots of Julies. At least all of the actresses that I'm familiar with, you get like classy vibe, but they're also funny. They have that comedic side to them, which I can get behind that. Last night I got to page 250 of just over 300. I am gonna knock out the rest of this because I am obsessed. The stuff that happened in the last 75 pages has turned this into the type of thrillery story that like I am all over. I am so into this. This has a potential to be a new favorite thriller of all time. This could take a lot of different turns, like straight from here on out, or there could be another plot twist. I'm sure there's gonna be another plot twist, but I am enjoying the hell out of this. I don't know that this will be like my most recommended thriller of all time because it is, I think, maybe a little bit more niche, but oh man, so into this. Y'all, I finished it. Holy shit. This is a new favorite thriller. I fucking called it. This is making me think so hard in how much I really enjoyed it. A couple of things that I really liked. Even though there is a small cast of characters, there are still plenty of red herrings. I think the foreshadowing was done really well, in that like I didn't even have to go back. When a character revealed how they knew a piece of information, I was like, oh, shit, you mentioned that in like chapter 3. That's so cool. I liked the short discussion about trauma specifically. I love the relationship between Alex and Ren especially. I also was trying to figure out if Julia Bartz is queer. She is not publicized online if she is queer or straight. Funnily enough, her sister, Andrea Bartz, who is also a thriller author, her partner is named Julia. That was very confusing for me. If this doesn't make my best books of the year, I would be fucking shocked. This kind of reminds me of Bunny in that it is about like the creative process and the question of, is it a thriller, is it horror? This has made me think about the line between genres. What really defines a thriller versus a horror? Because as much as some people will say it's the supernatural element, that is not always the case. For example, like Misery by Stephen King. What is the line here? Especially when you have elements where the author is making you question whether it is realistic or if it is supernatural. It's writing that line between horror and thriller, which I absolutely loved. I'm going to ruminate on what I learned from the Julie and Julia books, and we'll see what we come up with. So I've had a little bit of time to digest the books that I read, and I decided to make a chart of things that I could connect about these Julie books. See what it says about me, the Julies of the world? The book that I could connect the most to other books was The Writing Retreat. Also makes sense because it was the last book that I read, so I would be thinking of those connections while I read them. But the least I had was Lies I Tell, which I could only really connect to The Writing Retreat. But the thing that all of these books have in common is that they are following female characters, exploring complicated relationships. And most of these relationships are about relationships with other women. In The Last True Poets of the Sea, like 50% of the relationships are with women and 50% of them are with men. And then in The Lies I Tell, that was mostly a relationship between two women, and then a side plot was a woman and her husband. But the other two books were entirely about relationships between women and them being complicated. I want to read about complicated relationships, and I think that's a big part of books that I like at all, but like when you really get the experience of being a woman and how relationships can be that way, something I adore. Other things that we can find in these books, both The Lies I Tell and The Writing Retreat are mystery thrillers, of course, and they're also about women taking matters into their own hands. They're also following characters whose job is writing. But we do see in every single one of these books, we see writing that the character has done, which is another thing that I love. So Lies I Tell and Writing Retreat, those are characters who are actively writing. The Last True Poets of the Sea, we see some like lists, letters that she's trying to write. And then in Our Wives Under the Sea, the perspectives that we get from Leah are excerpts from her diary. The Writing Retreat and Our Wives Under the Sea both had a large horror thriller element that was a metaphor. The Writing Retreat and The Last True Poets of the Sea both take place in New England. In The Writing Retreat and The Last True Poets of the Sea, we are following a character who's trying to discover what happened to someone who lived in the past where they are at that moment. I think they get about the same exact amount of answers about those historical women that they're trying to find out about. Those women also had relationships that were in question with their husbands. The Last True Poets of the Sea and Our Wives Under the Sea both deal with water and ships, drowning, that sort of imagery. The Last True Poets of the Sea, The Writing Retreat, and Our Wives Under the Sea are all on-page queer. And I had this listed as with 3 of them, but I do think all 4 of these books have women that are processing trauma. One of these characters is a sexual assault survivor. One of these characters is trying to put a past where she was hurting herself behind her. We have a couple characters who are afraid they're going to lose one of their loved ones. All of these characters, a lot of the actions that they're doing in these books is fueled by them trying to process the trauma that they've been through. And of course, those are discussions that I really enjoy. So what we mainly got here is we have women in complicated relationships processing trauma. Maybe a little bit of a mystery element, maybe trying to find out about the past, queer representation, and definitely writing. You know what? I don't think that this could have gone better because those things definitely sound like they're up my alley. Of course, I did rate these books pretty highly. Such a great collection of books that I'm so glad I actually got around to reading. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, let me know down below if you have ever read a book by an author that shares your name, or if you've read a book by a Julia or a Julia. If you would like to follow me anywhere, my link is in the description to everything I do. And as always, I will see you in the next one.